How long does that last?
We are live, man. We are freaking live. Here we go. Let me actually grab our coffee here. We should have got you a cup of coffee too. Geez.
No, no, no. I don't need more
Wait,
coffee.
you don't drink coffee, right?
Oh, I do.
Me? Okay, I normally don't. Guys, what is up? Welcome to the first ever Momentum Friday. Very, very excited to have my man Elias with me here today, man. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for
Appreciate
having
you.
me. Thank you for having me.
And the thing about Momentum Friday that we are starting to do this is that a lot of times entrepreneurs, people who are looking for momentum and wanting to really build what they're doing in their career or profession, when the weekend comes around, they typically just fall off, and then it's just in relaxation mode and whatever else. You want to carry that momentum. I do think it's important that you get rest, and I'm not saying work your ass off the whole weekend, but I think it's important that people have the capability to, recharge your batteries, but also keep that momentum going, right?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you.
When you're in sales, or if you're in some sort of business that is in a sales type of position, it's like when you have that momentum, it's like stopping a train, right? Because on Monday, if you come into Monday and boom, you got to start from scratch again, then you find yourself in a tough position. So I wanted to bring Elias on today because Elias, you've been in real estate for how long?
20 years now.
20 years. That's a big deal,
Yeah.
right? And so that's, real estate's a tough sales position, right?
Very tough.
It's a tough sales gig. How did you, so the one thing I want to talk about in Momentum Friday here, you've been here for 20 years, right? What have been some of your biggest takeaways in terms of how you've been able to build, your organic, client base and the people who know you, and what you've done to establish your business?
Yeah, I could definitely say that for me, it was just basically being myself, who I am. Being Greek definitely helps me in my community and helping speak the language and being just who I am. I was never someone where I was just gonna, shy away or stand back. I was wanting to be the front line man. So with that, it was just I saw the opportunity being a realtor because it's sky's the limit. I can come and go as I please, make as much as I want or live as I want, but I ultimately put my effort into it. So
Right.
I saw the opportunity and I was like, you know what? Let me go get my real estate license and see where this takes me. And I've been very, very fortunate that it took me to places that I've always dreamed of, and
Mm.
I'm looking for furthermore of my dreams to come true. But very grateful that taking this course to service my community, our customers,
Right.
definitely changes their lives, changed my life, and I love helping people. I love helping as many people as I can. As far as if I see that they have potential, that they want to grow themselves, I'll do everything I can to help them. If I see that they're just gonna wait for a handout or anything like that, it won't fly with me. I
Mm.
believe in the work hustle. I'm a big advocate in going out there and getting what you want. No one's gonna come out here and give it to you.
Yeah, that's a big thing, man. And I think in most, especially sales, right? The one thing I love about being in a sales type of position is that you have full capability and control of your destiny in terms of how much money you're going to make,
That's
right?
correct.
In sales, there's no minimums and there's no maximums, right? Technically, unless you're in a shitty sales position. But the one thing I love about, with sales is you said it perfectly, right? Because most people, they don't realize that when you're in a sales type of position, that, you know, the golden or silver spoon is not coming for you, right? Nobody's going to come just give you business. You have to, and that's why I love sales, because you have to go out there, you have to build your network, you have to get after it. And if you're not meeting new people, and that's why I also wanted to have you on this, is that a lot of people say, you have to, your network is your net worth, right?
I agree.
And I think you're a good proponent of that because so many people know you, love you, have great relationships with you, and you're also just such a good, like, genuine person, right? And I think and you're also very generous. Like, as an example, anybody out there that's in sales, it's like anytime I've seen you as of recently, right? I would say the past 2 years, you always, like, if you come down to the office, like, you always come in and you have something like with you, right? And that's such a nice thing, right? People don't forget that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in the game of any sort of sales, it's details like that that matter so much in building, networks and building that stuff. But the one thing I wanted to say is, again, it's not about who you know, it's about who you go and meet. Because people are like, oh, it's all about who you know, and you think like, oh, because if your family didn't grow up with good, people that you know around you and good influence, then it's like, oh, well, that person is where they are because they know people. But it's like you have to go meet people. If you want to make movement in your life and in your career and in your business, you have to get out there and go meet people. Go make it happen.
Absolutely.
Don't
No,
wait for it,
yeah,
right?
I agree.
And
Get
and
out there.
so in this Momentum Friday, that is the biggest thing. Most people, you're holding yourself back by your limiting beliefs and the circle and the people around you that are imposing their limiting beliefs on you. And that happens so much more than people understand, that I want you really to assess your circle. And I think that's one thing every year I audit who is in my life from a personal perspective, business colleague perspective, and I cut fat every year off that. I do not, if I'm with people who are imposing their limiting beliefs on me, this is not apartments. You ain't renting space in my head. You can't
Absolutely.
lease this space. This is my space. So what I believe and what I'm after in my business, in my career, and whatever I'm doing in my life, I want to be surrounded by people that encourage, support, are positive. And most people, right? It's almost like this is like the best example that I think I've ever heard. Is one of my former, financial people that I've worked with in the past said to me, John, if you were to go to the gym, would you go work with a fat trainer? And I was like, no, of course not. I laughed.
Yeah.
He's like, why are you laughing? I was like, because why would I want to work out with somebody who looks like they made it happen
Yeah.
themselves. They did it, right? And he's like, well, so many times people will go and they'll surround themselves and ask for advice from people who are that quintessential, fat trainer as an example, right? And it's like, who are you asking relationship advice from? Who are you asking business advice from?
Absolutely.
Who are you asking, whatever, right? So it's like knowing who you're asking that information from, I think is such a key character.
I agree. There's a lot of new up and coming now social media influencers and all these big hype coming up.
Right.
I don't uh, I don't take advice from a person who hasn't walked in my shoes.
Right.
So you don't know what it is to get an offer rejected. You don't know what it is to go through a term review and someone else comes out and boxes you out with another higher offer. You don't understand the concept of getting the deal to closing. It is tough. It is not as easy as it may seem.
Right.
It is a lot of work, a lot of patience, and a lot of mechanics that go behind it to get to that closing table. So now you have these social media influencers. They're taking your money each month that are
Yep.
saying, I can help you, I can coach you. You want coaching? Look yourself in the mirror and go out there and make it happen. Knock on a door and see what it feels like to get rejected. That's the real entrepreneurship right there. To see, hey, you know what? This person doesn't want to sell their house right now. Plant the seed, move on to the next person. Just keep going. So be careful who you're taking advice from. There's a lot of people out there that are just blowing smoke because they want your money. F that.
Right. Now, one of the things I want to talk about in Momentum Friday, right? So, again, it's about building momentum, right? And I'll never forget, there was this one entrepreneur who, had a company making over close to 300 to 400 million a year in top line revenue, and wound up selling the business. And then fast forward, the company that bought that business wound up coming back and saying, "Hey, do you want to buy the business back?" After years of being away from it, and he was bored, and he was like, "You know what? Yeah, I want to do it." But this guy was always known as being so successful, people's person. Everybody loved him. So knowledgeable, grinder, right?
Yeah.
Got after it, and bought the business back. The business wound up failing. He went bankrupt, lost everything.
Wow.
And when somebody he was interviewed, and when somebody asked him, "Dude, what happened? Where did you go wrong? You're this super successful guy. You built this company from nothing to almost $500 million. What happened?" And he knew it intentionally. He goes, "I lost my momentum."
Wow.
And because he was off,
Yeah.
he was in retirement mode, right? And I think one of the things that's why with Friday Momentum, the goal here is to continue that momentum going in everything that you're pursuing in your life, including us, right? Like we're here because we want to do the same thing, right? So the overall goal with Momentum Friday is to make sure we're doing that, and what can we be doing to make sure that we're building and carrying the momentum forward. And again, one of the things that we said very clearly, I'm going to state again, what stops and limits your momentum is having limiting beliefs by people who do not deserve to be in your circle or deserve to be in your life, professionally, personally, whatever it is. If they're not there, adding value, making you better, being positive, even if
Cross
they,
them out.
even if they don't no, like, we talked about, like, again, like, if you want to learn, you want to learn from somebody who's been where you want to go. But, if somebody's really positive, but they haven't been where you want to go and they're still giving you positive energy, that person's a good person to keep around, because positive people, that spreads, right? Just like negativity and being around negative people, that spreads like wildfire. It's like
Yeah.
a cancer, right? When you have negative people around you, or people who are imposing negative beliefs on you, that's literally cancer to your success, to your growth, in whatever it is that you were trying to accomplish. Um, but so, one of the things I want to ask you is, you are always super positive, right? All your stories, all the stuff you always post. I think that's one of the good things that most people who probably follow you enjoy about you, is that you're always spreading positivity.
Correct.
So, you have 4 kids, you have a beautiful family, a wife, you're close to your family. What keeps you positive? Like, what is the source? What's the fire to you staying positive day in, day out, when obviously every day is not amazing
No,
for
it's
you,
not.
right?
It's really not.
So how do you stay positive?
So, we have our ups and downs. So I do get down and out sometimes, but I don't allow that to drain me for the whole day. I'll shake it off. Give me 3 to 5 minutes. Well, I'll be depressed. I'll be a little upset with everything,
Right.
and I'll just, what could be worse? I'm driving down here today. It's raining outside, and I see 3 gentlemen on their bikes with the garbage bags,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and I'm sitting in my car, windshield wipers going, radio going, AC going, and
True.
I could be that guy,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
Right.
So my mindset is like, I'm blessed. Every day of my life, I wake up and I say, I am very fortunate to be living, having my health, have my family, and just doing what I do, and which is servicing people. I love waking up and doing this.
Right.
There's no option. There's a plan B for some people. I don't have a plan B. This is my only option. So that's why I give it 100%.
Right.
And I love doing it. And I like to help everybody that I can that's around my circle, that I can let them know, you have potential too. Just a matter of tapping into it and letting it flow naturally, organically.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, man. And I think Tony Robbins, we both shared that we both been to
Yeah.
UPW before. Shout out to Tony Robbins and the great work that he does. But one of the things that he always says, somebody said to him, like, Tony, you are this positive, crazy, coach slash, like, he's coached presidents, leaders, like all these different
Yeah.
things, professional athletes. And he's like, are you ever negative? Like, do you ever sit on the couch depressed? And I remember watching that interview and saying, saying to myself, what the fuck is he going to say here? Right? Like, what is he about to say here? And he said, yeah, I have bad days, right? I have really challenging days. Things don't always go my way,
Correct.
but I don't stay there.
Mm.
Right? So I allow myself to be upset. I allow myself to kind of go through that BS, but I do not allow myself to stay in that space. And I thought that was so powerful, because, going to Tony Robbins, events
Yeah.
and stuff, when you're doing the whole meditative stuff, and like he wants you to get, like, in your head and emotional, and then, like, then switch. But the whole thing from UPW was being able to change your state. It's the one thing he kept saying: go from a positive state, go from a negative state to a positive state, negative to positive. But you need to be able to move quickly, right? You can't stay there. And I think a lot of times we live in a world right now where people have depression and all these different anxiety things, and they stay there too long. You got to move.
You have to.
Now, before we wrap up here on our first ever Momentum Friday, if you were to go back in time and tell Elias, in your most vulnerable moment you could think of in your whole life, whatever that was, what advice would you go back and tell yourself today, knowing all the stuff being where you are?
That dreams do come true. I would always dream for the life that I have right now. And, I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with my siblings, and my parents did what they could for us. But I always had a vision outside, looking outside. We had barred windows, and I looked outside the parking lot, and I would just picture myself, having a house, the cars, the family, what I have now.
Right.
And I always had that drive in my head. I said, I'm going to make it. I have to. I have no choice.
Right.
And is just I did align myself with the right people. I'm telling you that that's a big part of my success is I navigated through. I saw who where people were. This is how I met John. The same situation. He was on stage with Ryan Serhant. Shout out to my man Ryan.
Yep.
And John saw me throughout the whole crowd. I was the only one wearing sunglasses. He
Yep.
gave out part of the goodies, and he clicked. I clicked, and here we are now. But it's align yourself with the right people because they are going to make you or break you,
Right.
and you should not be, felt like, what, I should stay here. I grew up in this area. I need to stay in my community. That's false. You have the right to grow and go bigger and bigger places. No one should hold you back. You need to go out there and do it for yourself, for your freedom, because it's out there. All you have to do is have the courage. Courage is big. Take it and run.
And believe in yourself, right?
You have to. If you don't believe in yourself, then just, hang up. Just say, I'm done with life. I don't know what to tell you, but there's more out there. Just go out there and make it happen. Meet the right people, associate with yourself with the right people, pray. I do a lot of prayers. I do believe in God.
Yep.
And
I do the same. Yep.
again, my family does help me. I'm doing everything I can for my 4 kids to give them a better life. I'm not saying I had a good life. I had a great life, but
Yep.
they are gonna have a better life.
I love that, man. That's powerful. That's powerful. And everybody watching right now, thank you for tuning in to our first Momentum Friday. Again, the goal here is to continue the momentum that you have going and not just stop because the weekend has arrived. And again, it's not about just, working through the whole weekend or whatever it is that you're after, but it's carrying that momentum. Slowing down momentum and having to restart on a Monday is what crushes entrepreneurs, right? So the goal here is to understand how you can recharge those batteries, go into the weekend, and carry that momentum from the week into the weekend. Whatever you're learning, whatever you're working on, deals you're working on, the plans you're working on, carry that into a strong weekend so that you don't live a life where you're praying and hoping for the weekends. Whether you have a tough situation or not, you're going to be an entrepreneur, or whether you're a team member somewhere, I think that's the biggest thing for me is, I stopped like yearning for the weekend. Oh my goodness, probably like close to like almost like 7 years ago, because I wanted, life by design, right? I wanted to live a life where I did not want to wake up on a Sunday, or I'm sorry, Sunday morning, or I'm sorry, Monday morning, feeling like shit. Now I got to get back into it. Or thinking Sunday, like, oh shit, now the week's gonna start. Again, you are in control of your life, and that's why it's life by design, right? And building momentum, learning the right things, surrounding yourself with the right people, that is what builds true momentum. And momentum is what builds success in what you're doing. Staying still, plateauing, staying stagnant, that's going to keep you where you are. You got to run from that. Toxic people, you got to run from that. But when it comes to momentum, set up yourself and set up your life so that you are not praying and so excited for the weekend, so that you have that same excited feeling that you would have on a Friday because the weekend's here every day. And that's not easy. I'm not saying that's easy to achieve, but when you set yourself up the right way, you set up your schedules the right way, that's how you build that life and that career for yourself. So happy Friday, everybody. Elias, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can people find you on social media if they want to engage with
New
you?
Jersey Greek Realtor. That's NJ Greek Realtor or just Realtor Elias. I'm nowhere secret. I'm out. People know me.
He's not a secret agent.
I'm not a secret agent.
And I'm going to end off with this, guys, which is my life quote. When I first started my company when I was a teenager, I found this quote, and it's live a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't, right? And that means that you have to absolutely struggle before you're going to emerge. That means in anything, relationships, working out in health, starting a business, building yourself, climbing the corporate ladder in a career. All these different things are focused around the fact that you're going to have to put in the work and struggle before you can become successful. And so when you think that way and you have that in your mindset already like that, then you start to operate and navigate yourself differently. So I hope, again, live a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people cannot, right? Most people don't want to go through the struggle. They don't want to go through the bullshit. They don't want to go through the trials. They don't want to go through failure. They don't want to go through rejection. But that's what separates successful people versus people who live lives that are just mediocre. And some people settle and think that it's okay just living a mediocre life. For you out there watching this today, I hope on this Momentum Friday that you are not one of those people. So happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Recharge his batteries and go give my guy Elias a follow.